Hello, Magic players and collectors. Welcome back to the Land Library. I'm your librarian, and in this episode of latest Loadout, I'm covering the next backlog set, Ravnica Remastered. This set came out on January 12th of 2024 and is, of course, all about Ravnica. As a remastered set, everything is reprints, but with over a dozen sets to get cards from, there's quite a variety of Ravnican cards. Unfortunately for the lands, though, Ravnica sets mostly print lands in cycles, but breaks them up in between sets of blocks, which means there's not really a lot of lands, and this is gonna be a pretty short video. Surprisingly, the first thing on this list is not basics, because Ravnica Remastered did not print any basics. Instead, in the land rarity slot is, nothing, actually. There's no guaranteed lands at all in these packs, so let's start off with some commons, which is the Guild Gates. The Guild Gates are pretty classic Ravnica lands, we've seen them quite a few times, and these were first introduced in the Return to Ravnica block, are just pure tap lands except for the gate subtype, and these got printed with retro frames as well as the regular ones, which is pretty cool, but it's a little bit disappointing that they were printed with like their most common art, but I suppose these are also their most iconic and recognizable arts, so it makes sense. Next up is another full cycle of all 10 dual colors, the Shock lands. First introduced in the original Ravnica block, these lands have basic subtypes and come in tapped unless you pay 2 life. These are super iconic and powerful lands that see a ton of play, especially in Commander, and these are Blood Crypt, Breeding Pool, Godless Shrine, Hallowed Fountain, Overgrown Tomb, Sacred Foundry, Steam Vents, Stomping Grounds, Temple Garden, and Watery Grave. These also got retro frames, just like the Guild Gates, but not only that, they also got serialized retro frames in collector packs, and even brand new borderless prints, which is the only thing in here that is new art. They really went all out for the Shocklands in this set. Now we're onto the solo lands, starting off with Karn's Bastion. This land is very straightforward. It can tap for a colorless, or you can pay 4 generic and tap to proliferate. It only has the retro frame in this set, no regular print, and it uses the same art that's been on every print since its initial release in War of the Spark. And then there's Thespian Stage. This classic land from Gatecrash is a total wild card. It of course can tap for a colorless mana, but its main use is that for 2 generic it can tap to copy any other land in play, but it keeps its copy ability while transformed, so it can keep copying as many things as you want. It also only has the retro frame in this set. And last but certainly not least is Maze's End. This land is a mythic and it comes in tapped, can tap for a colorless, or for 3 generic it taps and bounces back to your hand to search out a gate from your library and put it in play. And then a check happens that if you have 10 or more differently named gates in play, you win. This is one of my all-time favorite lands, and is awesome to see getting a retro frame print, just like everything else in the set, but it also only has that retro frame. Hey, look, it's a remastered set, so it's obviously not going to have a big impact on anything except for maybe collecting, but even then, there's only a few things in this set that most people would bother collecting. The biggest impact it has is definitely just all the Shocklands getting reprinted. New prints of powerful classics sure is helpful for new players, and with new frames, new borderless, and even those serialized chase cards, there's quite a few options for collectors too. But with nothing else getting even close to the attention the Shocklands got in this set, it feels like this set is almost like a love letter to just Shocklands, and the rest is more just an afterthought. For Standard, 0 out of 5. It's a remastered set, so obviously it's not doing anything here. Commander is going to be a 1 out of 5. There's nothing new, but like giving a new shot at pulling Shocklands is at least worth a point. The theming is a solid 4 out of 5. The theming in this set is pretty strong. Maze's End, Guild Gates, Shocklands, these are some of the most Ravnican lands you could choose. But the only problem is that there's just so few. We got 2 cycles and 3 singles, It would have been really nice to see some other Ravnican classics, like some of the other guild lands, or some more solo lands like Guildless Commons or Transguild Promenade. Art is like a 6 out of 10. There's lots of new retro frames and new art on those borderless shocklands, even serialized lands, which is a pretty big thing. This is really good for a remastered set, but with no new art on anything else, and not even like some of the lesser used art on guild gates, and no other special prints, it can't get full points and tops out at 6. Overall, this is an 11 out of 25. This is a pretty expected showing from a remastered set. It's basically being scored out of like 15 because it's all reprints, and 11 out of 15 is actually pretty good. This set is getting hard carried by the Shocklands, but boy are Shocklands fans eating good in this set. If you've made it this far in the video, please drop a like for turn and subscribe for more Landfield content. If I missed anything, got anything wrong, or you just have questions, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next Backlog latest loadout, which will actually be a little different, and you'll just have to wait to see what it is.